suicidal thoughts, as we know, have been likened to mental health conditions which can affect anyone, regardless of background, age, or gender. Experts believe that suicide results are often from the result of an untreated mental health condition and should not be considered normal and often indicate more serious issues. September is World Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and a time to share resources and stories in an effort for us to shed light on the stigmatized topic of suicide. The month is used to reach out to those affected by suicide, raise awareness, and connect individuals with suicidal ideation to treatment services. And joining us now to discuss that is AMEVOR, a mental health expert and also the CEO of Mindfully Africans. I do hope that we have Raima with us.
Hello. All right,
okay.
She's done a mic.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us today on Newsday to discuss this topic in more length. The prevention of suicide has not been adequately addressed across Africa simply because it's not really regarded as a public health problem, which it is. So can you elaborate on this for us, distinguishing suicide as a public health problem and how important that is in the fight against suicide across the continent?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, from an economic point of view, up to 7% of GDP reduction is actually attributed to mental health issues. And when people suffer from mental health issues, they're less likely to participate in the labour market. They have higher unemployment rates and diminished productivity when they do participate. And of course, excess issues of mental health can lead to suicide. And these people are also twice as likely to be unemployed. Mental health issues has been seen as like the number one labour market challenge because of the reduced productivity at work. And indeed, in day-to-day life and in being involved in the local community, being able to, share happy moments with your family. So I think the problem is with Africa is that the stigma attached to suicide is so great. People are afraid to share their stories. People are afraid to say that their loved ones have committed suicide, which leads to kind of less education around the issue, which of course then leads to, heightened suicide rates across the continent.
Maybe it's not being recognized really as a health issue, because it's not been, if I should use the word, rampant. But now it's creeping up, rearing up its ugly head within our society, even when you hear young people about 15, 16, and I'm wondering, why would a 15-year-old girl or boy, want to commit suicide? Maybe now we'll begin to look at it in more detail. What do you think?
Yeah, so the sad thing about it is actually the suicide rates are not going up. It's just that we are now aware of them. Suicide has been happening for a long time in Africa, but because of the stigma attached to it, we're not talking about it and the stories are muffled. I know, from personal experience, a close family friend who committed suicide and they could not tell the family in Ghana this is what has happened to their child. So it's good that we're reporting on these issues because they are there and they have always been there. And really, we need a public education campaign around the issue so that people are talking about it and they're being educated on not only the signs for other people, but the signs within themselves as well. Because mental health education is not so widespread, and I think, and it's not just in Africa, it's all over the world where mental health education is not widespread, is that people don't even understand for themselves when they have mental health issues, or if they're going through depression or they have anxiety. So really, we all need to be educated on the signs for ourselves and for our loved ones as well, so that we can actually start tackling the root causes of these issues. Like, as you said, we're seeing like young people as young as 14, 15 committing suicide, which is not right at all. So really, it's extremely troubling. But what's even more troubling is the fact that we're not recognizing this as an issue, and it's not being talked about in schools. It's not being talked about, in our workplaces. It's this thing that's kind of hidden behind closed doors. So hopefully, with the attention, the media attention that World Suicide Day brings, and with seeing all these stories about young people committing suicide, actually people do start taking notice. The government do start taking notice, and the private sector and public sector take notice and actually start educating people on the issue at hand.
Absolutely. I have a double-ended question here for you, because you mentioned the workplace, and there's some stats I want to address with you on that. But more so, I know you're also from Ghana originally, and I was looking at some information out of Ghana this morning, and really, really shocking. It's now been reported that about 200,000 senior high school students in the country have attempted to take their lives in the past 12 months alone. So you say that you wouldn't say that cases are becoming more prevalent, just more reported. Is that still the case here, or what would you say to that, firstly?
So I think there's two issues here. There's the first issue is that we've always had this problem, right? It's just that we haven't been researching it. We don't have the statistics. We don't have the data to actually measure what's going on. And then the other issue is, of course, the pandemic, which across the world, has caused mental health issues, for everyone, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in the UK, the US, everybody is suffering from it. So it's been heightened, definitely, because of the pandemic. But I do think that this increase, the increase is probably, it's not as high as we think, because we don't actually have the baseline data. So the issue is widespread, and there's definitely been an increase of people being depressed, being anxious because of the pandemic. It's something that, none of us have experienced before. And obviously a lot of socio-economic issues has come into play with the pandemic. So that, there's two issues there. There's the idea that we've never had this data before. And there's the other issue of this pandemic, which has made it.
Right, I wish we had time to talk more on this and look at the correlation between suicidal attempts and mental health and some other issues. But thank you so much for being on the program.